Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Masovitz, with my favorite, best, the most wonderful, most amazing, all-time co-host, Jen Albanese. Hi, Jen.
Hello. Hi, Maury. How are you today?
Doing very well, very well. Very excited to connect with a guy today that I had the pleasure of working with me for a couple
Yes.
years, and super
Yes.
cool.
Going to be a
And
great conversation for sure. Our,
first MLB connection, baseball. We were
I know,
thinking
and
about
I
that.
have a little love for baseball. I used to work at our minor league stadium here in Syracuse, so
Yep.
that's where I started, and I love baseball. It's where,
Back
you
when they
know,
were a Blue Jays affiliate, right?
yeah, so it was the Syracuse Chiefs at the time. So it was the
Right.
Blue Jays. And then they actually were a minor
A
league
national.
affiliate for the Nationals.
Yeah.
For our guest today, that's where he works. So a little connection there. But yeah, it's when you work in baseball, I feel like you do everything. Like I said,
Yeah.
you get to do everything, and especially in minor league baseball. But I love going to baseball games too. Like that's always such a summer thing for me and my family. Like growing up, that's what we always used to do. Like you did that,
Yeah.
right? When you were a kid.
Yeah.
Like
We would go to Orioles Park, and we
how
weren't
far was
like,
Orioles Park from you? Like when
it's
you were
just downtown. So it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
20, 30 minutes. And
yeah.
when I was a kid, they put in the light rail. So like you didn't have to like drive down. You could get
Drive, you could
off
take the
and
transportation, yeah.
take down, which was cool. And it's just that, to me, that's the nicest. I mean, I've been to a lot of ballparks. Like that's just the nicest ballpark I've ever been to. I just still really enjoy going to that park. There's just something about it. It was like kind of built when I was a kid, but it
Yeah.
always felt like it had a lot of history and was like
Oh,
older to it. So
yeah. I mean, obviously, I grew up, Yankee Stadium, and we went to the old Yankee Stadium when I was a kid, and we used to watch like Don Mattingly and Paul
yeah,
O'Neill and those guys. And like, I remember taking my grandma, and she was like, had been a Yankee fan her whole life and never went to,
yeah,
went to a Yankees game. Obviously, Nani, I'm talking about Nani,
yes.
and we took her, and like, it was the coolest thing. She got to see a home run, and like, it was just the coolest thing. But so I've been to old Yankee Stadium, then obviously new Yankee Stadium
Well,
is
you like
pretty
know every
incredible.
part of New Yankee Stadium. I feel like
Well,
I feel like there's very few parts of New Yankee Stadium that you
that I
haven't been
haven't
in.
been into. Yeah, yeah. So we actually played a football game there, last year now at this
Yeah.
time. I think about it, I get a little PTSD. It was a little crazy to do it, but I got the opportunity to actually like call the game and be up in like the box where they
Yeah.
call Yankees games and work with the Yankee staff, which was really cool. We got to go down in like the Yankees locker room and see like where the manager's office was and like all the history. I mean, obviously being a Yankee fan, that was so, so cool. It didn't help that I also had the stomach bug at the same time, so I
Oof.
didn't really get to enjoy it that much. But that was very cool. I mean, the experience was crazy and stressful, but it was a really cool opportunity. But Yankee Stadium always has like a little special place because I'm a huge Yankees fan, so that's fun.
Yeah.
But we do like to go to other parks. Like obviously
Yeah.
we
The Giants we talked about,
yeah,
like
San Francisco Giants. That was a beautiful park because
with
it's
the
right on the
water in the
bay,
outfield. That's
right
like
on the
so
bay
cool.
there.
And
Yeah,
for some
that was
reason, I
cool.
always think about that they had that garden in the outfield too,
Yes,
which I found
yes,
to be like
yes.
really interesting. They had an organic garden out there. I
Yeah,
guess it's in San Francisco, so it makes kind of sense.
yeah, but that was a beautiful park. That was
Very pretty
really cool
park.
park. Yeah. We
Um,
Texas, we
Texas,
saw it
yeah,
to the Rangers Park in
but
Arlington.
their old
I think it's
stadium.
their old stadium because it was right across from where the Cowboys play.
And it
And
was
we
like
went
gigantic. Like that was
Yeah,
like one of the biggest baseball parks I've ever seen in
yeah.
my
And
life.
it was also the hottest baseball game I had ever
It
been to.
was
It
hot,
was
but we
like
would like kind
full,
of sneak
full.
inside. They had like different areas. I
Yeah,
kind of
like suites
remember.
and like hospitality stuff, which
Yeah,
was cool, like bars and stuff. But I'm trying to think. So we did that, and then I've been to Phillies. I've been to Citizens Bank
I
Park.
graduated from that in that stadium. I was
Nice,
I got
very
to
nice.
stand on a field or whatever we walked through. That was
Yeah.
cool.
Well, yeah, I would hope.
They like walked
um,
you up in the stand. It was a whole thing.
that's
Fireworks
cool.
at the end. It was neat.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a cool park too. That's a really cool stadium. So I love to do that. I've been to Toronto, see
Yep.
the Blue Jays.
Only
You've
saw a
only been there
Taylor
for
Swift
two.
concert there.
That's
It's the
okay.
only.
And the nice little perk when we went to that Taylor Swift concert is we got to sit in the dugouts
It was
and
cool.
nobody else cared. Then there's me and I'm like, oh, take my picture in the dugout. This is
Yeah.
so cool. But yeah, so hopefully we can go to more parks. I think I enjoy going to baseball games. It's fun. The
Yeah.
kids like it too. So it's It's a good little tradition in the summertime.
Yeah, and like my brother-in-law and my nephew are like the biggest baseball on the
Yes.
other side,
Oh my
biggest
God,
baseball
yes.
fans of all time. Orioles,
Yes.
there and
Yeah.
Nationals. My nephew had his bar mitzvah celebration at the Nationals, and it was like the
Yes,
one
that's
weekend that our
right.
guest was away, and I called
Well,
him
you
and I
didn't
said,
get to
"Hey, I'm
see
coming
him.
down," and I didn't get to see him, but I did see him a couple months later.
And
When
now
we
we get to
went
see him
back,
today when
and
we
I know,
talk
and
to
he's
him.
so
So it's
great. So
perfect.
it'll be
So
great to see him. So
yeah, good stuff. All right.
awesome. So let's get to our guests, and we'll see everybody after this break. If you're enjoying this podcast, please follow us on your favorite podcast streaming service. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting, a group focused on educating and guiding high school and college students looking towards careers in athletics. To find out more, go to our website at www.athcareer.com. That's ATHCAREER.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, let's introduce today's guest.
Today, we're thrilled to have a guest whose career trajectory has taken him through a diverse range of roles in sport operation and venue management. He began his journey in sports with Syracuse University Athletic program, starting as a men's basketball intern. He then transitioned to the role of facilities and event operation assistant in 2019, where he gained extensive experience in game administration for a range of sports, facilities maintenance, and event planning. In 2022, he took on the role of game operations and event intern. Here he played a crucial role in event setup and breakdown, overseeing credential systems during the COVID-19 pandemic. Following this, he moved to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas as a conversion technician. His responsibilities included converting the stadium's layout for various events, coordinating with multiple departments, and troubleshooting operations issues to ensure safe and successful event environment. In October 2021, he joined the Washington Nationals as a coordinator in security before being promoted to coordinator of security and venue systems in September 2023. In his role, he oversees security operations and venue systems, ensuring a secure and effective environment for all events. Please join me in welcoming Drew Hurley to the podcast. Welcome, Drew.
Hi, Drew.
Ben, Maury, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
I love the fact like 2 of those jobs were interning with me, so it's a very.
I was like, yep, I remember when he did that. I remember when he did the credential system. I'm like, remember.
I mean, it probably worked out because all the COVID stuff that we prepped for probably ended up being kind of somewhat helpful in what you do now.
Yeah, I mean, starting from day one, pre-COVID, I think everything kind of accumulated into understanding the operations from a normal time through COVID, and then kind of back out to where I am now with the Nats, and then everything is quote unquote normal.
Yeah, as normal as it gets.
Exactly. Yeah.
And working in MLB, I mean, that's got to be a really cool experience and something different. I think you're the first guest that works in Major League Baseball, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I've always, obviously working in sports, you're a fan of everything, but baseball has always been something I've gravitated towards. And honestly, I think I realized I was interested in working in baseball partly because of working in college athletics and having that event every day, every other day, where, my time at Allegiant and working in the NFL, and there's obviously a lot of big events there. The cadence is a little different in, event to event. And that's something I really enjoy about baseball. I mean, as we're recording, we're still in the season, and it's maybe not as fun on game 10 of 10, in a row. But I enjoyed that we get to, put our product, not necessarily on the field, but like our team's work goes into effect every single day.
That's great. Yeah.
I get to see you on some YouTube videos every once in a while. People share stuff where you out in that stadium, and I got to see you recently, which was really cool. So, well, why don't we get into your tips? Why don't you start with your first one?
Yeah. So my first tip is, especially starting out in the college years, is this might go against what some other people have said, but finding something outside of sports that still can lead you to, where you want to end up career-wise.
Yeah.
One thing I did at Syracuse is, and Maury knows this, like I worked very hard for Syracuse University Ambulance as an EMT for 5 years.
Yeah.
Because completely out of right field, baseball joke not intended, when I started on campus as a freshman 1 week in. But ultimately, that kind of married up great with operations as a whole. I now in my role, I interface daily with different public safety sectors, private public sectors. And I even worked here at Nationals Park for an ambulance company back in 2018 when I was still a college student. And on my first day here in my current role, I saw familiar faces that I thought I really would never see again.
Yeah.
Just based off of this complete hobby that I picked up. But now it has helped me tremendously professionally. It grew my leadership skills. Not everyone's going to go be an EMT, but I think it's super valuable to have that. That's something else that you may not think is going to benefit in the long run, but it did for me. I remember I was kicking myself a lot those summers being like, I need to be doing something in sports. I need to be doing something in sports. I wasn't. It ended up fine. I'm glad. I would not trade it, that experience for anything.
Yeah. Well, the two things I remember is, one, I could always tell which car you had because you had your SUA sticker on the back. So if I was ever looking for Drew's car, I would trace him down. But then also, like, when we were working events and someone would get hurt, I'd be like, Drew, you're on it. Because actually, I think Drew and I even talked about his internship when he was being he was covering a dome event as a EMT. And he's like, hey, would you have any interest in me interning? Like, absolutely. It was a great. I was super psyched when he asked if he did, and he interviewed, and we got him in, and that was definitely, you're one of the best. You're definitely remembered around, so we appreciated you.
Yeah, and you doubled as someone that could save someone's life. So I mean, that's an extra added bonus.
And got us through COVID, so I'll always appreciate that.
I think the cool thing, though, you kind of touched on it when you said you went back to Nationals Park and you saw people that you didn't think you would ever see again. Like, you never know when you're going to make those connections that can help you in your career down the line. So it's always good to be open-minded and be able to try anything, because you never know how that's going to fit into your career path. So I love that little tidbit. That's cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, great tip. Let's head into number 2.
Yeah. My second one is kind of tied into leadership. I think one thing that I really developed working at Syracuse and throughout my time is, as a 20, 21-year-old working a men's soccer game or whatever it may be, being a leader to not only your peers, but people that are significantly older than you, and having some sort of command voice where, you get the people, to listen to what you're saying when you might not have the face as a boss. I think that's something that was very tough for me from the get-go, but have developed, and continue to be, one of the younger staff members here, but we have a game day staff of 110 on the security side. And, if I'm the only one out there, dealing with whatever issue, I feel like I really need, have the experience where I know what to do, and how to coach up individuals that, may have been doing the job for 40 years, but don't have the insight for this one specific issue or problem, and just being able to manage your way through that. It's not easy. It took years, and it still is an adjustment every single time. So just continuing to develop that strong, will to coach people and be a willing boss.
It's funny. It's been a pleasure because I watched you actually be more confident, and I am not always the most quiet of event operators, and
no,
so like
you're not quiet.
Maybe a little bit louder in my event operations day, but I always like that you're very calm and you keep consistent, but you are authority, and I think back of like a softball game, you had a situation, and I'll always think back to that, is that you were very confident, you handled it. And like, you talked to me afterwards, and at that point I was like, he's got this down. He knows how to do this. Like, I trusted you. I knew how to do it before, but just, I think that was, to me, the turning point for you was like when I think you realized to yourself, like, I have this under control. This is my thing to run. And I was always really proud of you for that, to like go and say, hey, I can do that. And I think the other thing that I think about is like there's different ways to do it, and it's about being a leader and presenting yourself that way, whether you're kind of doing it kind of in a more quiet tone or whether if you're just really engaging with people, it's to just kind of really think about the people around you, and you've always been really good at that.
Yeah, I'm glad you thought I knew what I was doing.
I put you on a lot of games, so
Yeah.
hopefully.
If he did that, he definitely trusted you, Drew. Come
Yeah.
on, you know that. If he scheduled you, he liked you. So.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good point.
But like leadership is a tough thing to like figure out like what your leadership style is. And once you figure that out and you learn how to do that, like you gain that respect, and then people will listen to you regardless of how old you are or what experience you have. It's just finding that confidence really inside yourself that you can do it. And then once you have that, I think everybody else around you can see that, and then they follow right along. So it's definitely a different journey for everybody. But when you get to that point, I think it's really good for you to continue to build your career. So
yeah. Be confident in your
Absolutely.
skills, and
Yeah.
it really, I think the engagement with people just makes a difference. Like the
learning how to deal with people.
Yeah, if you can talk and follow and have them like show them that you're willing to work, it all seems to start to work. But
Yeah.
okay, number 3, Jen. I gotta
Yes,
make
we're on
it 3.
three. We're
Number
on three.
3. Maury, you kind of touched on this, when you explained how I first got an interview with you, but it's just going up to the person that you know is a decision maker, whether you're on the job hunt or in a job. It takes some guts to go up to people. That's not my strong suit. There's plenty of people in the sports industry that are very good at that, and they make themselves very known. But as someone that, it took confidence to go up to Maury in the Dome and be like, I would like to work for you. What do I need to do? And after Syracuse and at Allegiant, I made it a point to try to find the senior leadership within the operations department. I was bottom of the totem pole, just working on the conversion crew, which was fine. It was great, great experience, great building. And I knew that wasn't like a normal process for other people on the staff to do, to seek out the vice president of operations. But I knew I was there to try to do more than be on the conversion crew. And luckily I had the support of other managers and directors, but continuing to build networks. I know the whole industry is built on that, and I'm sure plenty of tips and tricks that have come that are about networking specifically. And this is mine, is just getting up to do the actual thing and talking to people. It sounds simple, but I don't know. It never is easy for me.
That's a good
It can be
one,
intimidating.
Yeah, because I think people think, oh, if I send a message on LinkedIn or if I send an email, that's enough. When you go up to somebody, like, to me, that's impressive, because you've had, like you said, the guts to come up to me and face to face talk to me, show you have communication skills. That sets you apart. I remember that you took the time to do that. Either it's like if you call me or if you come up to me at an event, like that is so much more impactful than an email or a LinkedIn message. Not to say not to do those things. I think that's a good way to connect with people. But if you really want to make an impact, that face-to-face connection is really important.
Yeah, I mean, it's building a relationship. I think of like all of the students that we've had, and Jen, you've had some too, that have started like, in their undergrad years with us and like would really kind of engage with us. And I mean, Drew, your example of it is, it wasn't just that one conversation we had, like we'd talk and we'd have, I had some, there's some familiarity and comfort, and someone that's willing to be like, hey, how do you do this? And know that you're interested in it enough to like try and understand and pay attention. And, so many, I think, quality people, that's like how it's twofold. Like you develop skills, but then at the same time, you're developing a relationship, and that's important to those people that are hiring. So, we were talking to, recently have been talking to some of the staff and faculty about like building relationships with students and that want to work for us, and saying how important it is that having that long-term relationship where they're developing and, engaging with us really means a lot when they get to kind of that final capstone internship. And that's the kind of relationships we feel are really beneficial to both, to us and to the student. So no, it's a great tip.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely. Yeah,
even though you say it's simple and it might not, that's a very important tip.
yeah.
That face-to-face contact and being able to talk to people is something that I think students might lack these days because, like I said, they are not willing to do it. So it's a good thing to remember.
Awesome.
Good one.
Okay, number 4.
Yeah,
Number
and
4.
this was a great segue because it's continuing on relationships, but kind of in a different light. Specifically for me in security and operations as a whole. I think one thing that I started at Syracuse unwillingly through working on the ambulance, but it paid dividends, was getting to know every external partner that makes a operation go. Here in DC, I've gotten to know the police department very well. We have an outside parking contractor that is part of my job now, but I never really considered all of these external people that they don't work every game. They might not work every homestand for us, but
Right.
I know that police captain, if I call him, the job's going to get done. And that's just through continuing to build those relationships when he's at the ballpark or she's at the ballpark. Obviously police department relationship is crucial in the security industry. But I think it goes across internally with the Nats as well, or any organization, as you guys do have a great relationship in the marketing and ops. But we, have to work very closely with broadcasting. And if we don't know the broadcasters, how are they going to trust us when we tell them to do X, Y, or Z? And again, going back to my other one, it's on you to push those relationships forward. And as a more junior person on the team, it's not always I'm not always the one making the call, but I know that I have the ability to when needed.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely in the ops side, my Rolodex or my phone, whatever you want to put in there. Rolodex. That
the 1900s, Lori.
But like,
dear God.
it's amazing how many people on a game day, even small games or like events, like you have to get in contact with, or just to keep the facility running. Like, so much of doing the job is the relationships and knowing who to call and like how to work with them and like building that relationship. And just so fortunate to have like a lot of good people around. And Drew, you saw it, like even when you were doing stuff with us, like how many people you might have to call, whether it's the grounds crew or whether it's the DPS officer, or you have an issue with plumbing and you're calling plumbers, or even I was doing a tour for a group of one of our new facilities, and they're like, well, how many subcontractors do you have? And I'm like, there's hundreds of them. And I'm like, it's incredible how many people you bring on, and the relationships you need to bring. So no, it's a great tip.
I think it's even taking it further to kind of understand what they do as well. Like, having those relationships, but understanding, not necessarily saying you could do what they do, but like understanding what it takes to do their job and the process that they have to go through and the steps that they have to go through. We always talk about that with our relationship with the Dome, like understanding the process of what it takes to put on an event in that building. It goes so much farther when you build those relationships if you understand what they have to go through, like what it takes to, set up an event, what it takes to put out giveaways on seats, what it takes to have security in certain areas and why they do it and how that process is, because then they feel like you're taking an interest in what they're doing and you want to learn and understand. That way you can help do the job better, and then you guys can collaborate better. So the relationships are so important, but it's also understanding what those people do. Like I can't do Maury's job, you know what I mean? But I understand what he does, so that's why me and our teams together can work well, because we want to collaborate and we understand what each other has to do. So that is really important. It all comes down to relationships. Everything that we're kind of coming back to is relationships, and it's important. It's very important.
Has it been strange to see like the ambulance crews that you were working for, like now you're coming back and help you at the stadium? Like I can only imagine like you built those relationships over time, and now you're seeing those guys in a different role, or girls in a whole different role.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's weird. I haven't worked on the ambulance in like 4 years now. But it's still weird taking the step back. But like Jen, you were saying, like I understand how they do their jobs.
Right.
I can speak the lingo.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my job is reading the reports of every incident for every game, and I
Yeah.
know if a medical ticket is lacking information, I can turn to the guy that I've known for 4 years, 5 years, and be like, we both know that this needs some work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember one day sitting, I think it was during COVID, at the scorer's table with Maury during a women's lacrosse game, and I think it was like the 1 second of maybe 30 seconds of silence that we had, and I was like, how many phone calls have you made today? And you just dropped your head and you're like, I can't even look through it.
They don't all fit in my
Yeah.
Rolodex.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I go through too many cellular phones. I feel like the battery life is not sufficient enough.
Yeah.
I've gotten back to like having that secondary battery charger that's sometimes like hanging out of my pocket with the wire so that I can just keep my phone charged at this point. It's only gotten worse with construction, just to let you know. It's not gotten any better.
That should be a tip. Have an external charger.
It is. Especially on football game days.
Yeah.
Oh my
Football
God.
game days and
Football
external
game
chargers are
Football
huge.
game days for sure. Oh.
Yeah.
If
Really
you,
any game day, really, if you think about it, any game
I don't know.
day.
I can get through a basketball game probably without an external
but
charger.
Drew, you definitely need one for 9 innings
Oh,
of baseball.
I would be
sure.
like
baseball. Yeah. Concerts for us is like,
yeah.
Oh,
That's such a
God.
long. That's days at a time where you're not leaving.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you can find a plug in that data, Maury.
But you have to keep moving. So like your phone is stuck somewhere and your body is somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then it all depends on like, okay, like is this person someone I can get over the radio? Because if you can get them over the radio, then that's going to be your choice. Or do I have to have a 10-minute conversation with them on the phone? And a lot that phone can be a big deal. I've really enjoyed the external charging unit.
Yeah. There you go. An extra tip added in here.
That's a bonus tip.
Yeah.
Bonus tip.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, fifth and final, Jen.
So the big question, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew at the start of it?
I think I wish I knew how big like of an impact that your respective teams make. And I'm not talking about the teams on the field or the court or the ice or whatever. Coming into my freshman year of college and Syracuse, I was always up in the stands. I didn't work in operations. I didn't really expand my resume too much. And it wasn't until working games at the Dome, Las Vegas, here, that I really understood that this is such a big undertaking that you have a direct impact on. I know plenty of people have say like you'll miss, other sporting events, other events in general, but being there, being a part of the crowd is something that, has motivated me to continue to work in sports. And by being a part of the crowd, I mean working the game.
Yeah.
But I just I think the energy of sports and being a part of this product, even though, like I said, no impact on what actually happens on the playing surface. It's really motivated me since working for Syracuse Athletics and has continued every day since then. And I think it kind of goes back to my point of I like working in baseball because I get to see that 81 times a year, plus concerts, plus whatever else we're doing. It's not really a networking tip or any professional tip, but it's just that's how I've found my motivation and continue to have it every day.
Yeah, that's a good one. I feel like every once in a while I'll walk out of the tunnel and look up and like it's kind of like a surreal thing of like this is kind of such a big I get what you're saying, like it's kind of like a more than yourself type of thing, like that you get so much more out of it because you think of all the people that are involved with it and like the whole kind of end result, and then this whole just the competition of it and being able to support. There's just something that's different about being involved, and it's not like being on the sidelines and being a fan because that's such a different thing because you don't really get to do that.
No.
But being a part of what is like kind of a special moment for people and for like whether that's the athletes or whether that's the fans, like there is something really kind of different about it.
Yeah, I always say like whenever an intern asks me like what's my favorite part of the job, I always like to say like we're responsible for 30,000, 40,000 people sitting in one place at one time. And they all are not thinking about anything else but that game. Like we are helping them forget about whatever problem they have, whatever bill they have, whatever thing is stressing them out. We're all focused on one thing at one time. And I'm a small piece of that. And I help someone smile today. And I think that people forget about that in a world that sometimes is a lot of like stress and not a lot of happiness. Like, we make people happy. Now we can also make people mad if our team doesn't win.
Yes.
I can't control that, but I help someone enjoy, a couple of hours away from their problems and whatever else they have going on. So, that to me is really cool. Knowing that you make that kind of an impact on somebody. I don't think people realize that right off the bat. So that's a really good one.
Yeah. Even for the athletes, I feel like that's the other part too. Like, you've now kind of allowed for these like amazing moments of people to like just show like incredible things that they can do. And, going back to working lacrosse back in the day and just like being able to help be a part of that and, see people like perform at their best and like help that be possible is like kind of a really neat thing. Cause where do you get to see like such elite like ability? It's like something I can't do. So.
Yeah.
Nothing I can do. That's why we work in it, because we can't play it.
And I was only in Vegas for a few months, but obviously they held the Super Bowl this past year, and they showed the time lapse on the broadcast of their major conversion, and I just was like, I did that, obviously not for the Super Bowl. I was like, but I know what they're doing, and I know it's a long 18 hours, and no one else is like, wow, it's a snap of the fingers and it's done. And in the back of my head, I'm like, the Super Bowl wouldn't have been happening without these guys. Like, it's a cool, like, understanding, even though I wasn't there, but I did it at some point,
Yeah, you can relate to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't go to any other, like, place to watch a game or anything without, like, knowing what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to a different venue, you're like, oh, look at that over there. You can't be a fan. You just can't. Like Maury said, you can't just be a fan.
It's a little bit of the downside of it, because you're like looking at like, well, why did they put their security person there? Or why is that ticket taker doing it that way? Or, how many people do you think they have doing marketing in that area over there? It's just it's
look at that billboard. I like the colors they use. That's a great slogan. We even do that, like if we're on family vacation, we were, Maury's like, look at that, how they have that set up. I'm like, we gotta stop. We gotta stop. We can't keep doing this.
Yeah. When Maury came to the ballpark earlier this year, I was like, I hope he got in okay and everything was easy.
Yeah. He had no issues.
I would have called you and be like, they won't let me in. I need to get in now.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh,
I feel very confident I'll get in when I get to Nationals Park. That was not what I was worried about.
He knows a guy. He knows a guy.
I feel comfortable.
Good.
Well, everyone thinks I'm so cool. Like, oh, Drew's coming down to meet me. We're talking. My family was very impressed. I was like, yep, he's a bigwig there.
He's big time.
I don't know about that, but as long as they think so.
No, we appreciated seeing you. And the kids, Drew got gifts for the kids. They still have them. They love it. So thank you.
Oh, there you
no
go.
problem.
Nice. Oh, good stuff.
Well, Drew, it's so good to see you. So glad that you're doing so great, and definitely we'll keep keeping track of your career. We know you're going to keep doing big things. And
yes, thank you for being here. These were all great tips. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys. It was a blast doing this. It was a blast working with and for both of you guys.
Awesome.
It was, a great time today, and looking forward to what you guys are doing down the line.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for listening today. Jen, shout out to all of our socials.
Yep. So make sure you're liking and following us on all your social platforms. So we're on Instagram and X and Facebook and LinkedIn, all at Ath Career Pod. So yeah, keep in touch with us there. And this has been great. So thanks so much, everybody, for listening.
Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcarc Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.